Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series X-Men, the animated series Cyclops. This is exclusive to Shop Disney and Hasbro Pulse. I don't think Shop Disney has gotten it in stock yet, but Hasbro Pulse did have it and has shipped out, so I'm very excited about this. I've actually already taken it out of the package, and I know already right off the bat that this Cyclops is downright amazing. A couple of reasons why. Number one, it uses the Vulcan body, so it's better than the crap Bucky Cat body that we previously had for every other Cyclops figure. A new astonishing X-Men Cyclops figure has been announced to have kind of somewhat of the Vulcan body, but then there's definitely some new tooling and stuff going on there. But here is the previous Jim Lee blue and yellow Cyclops figure, and you can see there's some big differences there. But the updated body mold is going to be the biggest thing, and then like the straps for the boots and the thighs, those are actually keyed into the leg, so they don't move around. They're not going to fall around. They're not glued. Well, I guess they'd be glued in place. And then the shoulder strap and everything like that, that's actually going to be part of the body mold. So technically this is a new torso, and just a lot of new goodness to it, which is really damn awesome. Anyway, I want to look at the package to look at the really cool artwork you can see here of Cyclops. Looking at the side there, looking at the back, the bio reads, Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, is one of Xavier's very first students and fights tirelessly for Xavier's dream as the X-Men field leader. And what an awesome figure to kind of cap off the VHS box style for the X-Men the animated series. Cyclops is going to be the last one for now. Will they revisit it? Sure, it's possible, but in 2023 we know that they're going to be focusing on Spider-Man the animated series, and throughout the year we'll be going with those. Those ones are actually going to be 2-packs, so even more expensive, which is crazy because these already come with a premium price tag, which sucks, especially for the other figures where they're just repaints and stuff. At least with Cyclops, we're getting a lot of new here. Some of the other figures, there may have been some new things, but a lot of it was mostly repaints. I mean, we had new head for Mystique, new head for Wolverine, Morph was new, so there's some new things going on there. Sinister was completely repaint, but I'm glad that this Cyclops kind of breaks that repaint theme going on, and we have something new. So let's get in for a closer look at the figure. I won't really do a whole lot of comparisons with these other ones to take them all out of the box and everything, but I will take out Jean and Wolverine, of course, so we can see those three together. But let's get in for the look at Cyclops. Okay, so here's a close-up look at Cyclops. So out of the package, he did not have this hand on there. I actually added that on there already. So out of the package, he has a fist on his right, and then he has a fist for his left. So the extra accessories, you get this 2-finger hand, and then you have 2 open hands like so. And these are like massive hands, and I remember Vulcan having, you know, those large hands. So it makes me wonder, is the 2-finger hand the same that we had gotten before, or did they give us a new one that is larger? And it looks like it is the same. They did not sculpt a larger one. They just kind of went with the same one. I guess, you know, it would have been nice to get it, but why sculpt another hand that's going to be in the same exact position, right? I guess that wouldn't make sense. But looking at the figure, the head sculpt looks really nice. One comment that I've seen a lot of people make, actually on Twitter when I had posted pictures, is the visor on the red. So do we see really kind of a level line? Not perfect. Some people on theirs, it's a lot worse, where the visor, the yellow plastic, is a little pinched together a little bit. I think the reason why you don't see a real level line on mine is because the red paint of it isn't quite level. I mean, it could have something to do with the plastic. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's like all that bad, but you know, I can understand that it would bother some folks for sure. But no, I don't have too much of an issue with it on mine. Looking at the rest of the figure, it looks pretty good. Semi-sloppy paint around where the blue matches, and I'm trying to see, is this face a separate piece? No, not really, but the visor is, and you can see the cell shading. There's darker yellow there on that side. I like his hair is kind of flowing, and we'll pop on the other heads to see if the other heads fit. Like with the Scott Summers with the red sunglasses. I know this figure, the Love Triangle Cyclops, came with 2 different ones, but I only have this one out, so I'll pop that head on to see if it fits. If it does, then we know the other one would work as well. Cell shading, you get this dark blue here throughout, and then the same spots where that dark blue line would go, we get that dark yellow. Same on the wrist, a little bit here on his trunks and his belt, and then on the legs, you see it here in the front. and then his boots there on the front as well. Looking at the back of the figure, there are no cell shading marks or anything like that. And then again, I love how the harness piece, this piece is actually part of the mold of the torso. Or it could, well, I'm sure it's just an extra plastic piece that's like glued into it, but they keyed in the section for it to fit on there. So it's not just like a new harness that's glued down completely. The sculpt of it is actually in there, so it fits on there perfectly, which is really nice. So the Hasbro could have easily gone a lazy route and just did the floating harness piece that we had gotten before, or glued it down. No, but we got an actual sculpted one that's then keyed into the figure and glued on there to really keep it flat looking, and it's not going to go anywhere, and just came out looking really damn nice. I love the way they did it, and you could kind of see how it's keyed in there. It's done super nice. I really love how it looks. And then with that, the belt actually doesn't really move, because you can see that it's connected right there. So you're not going to have this belt that's going to be going up or anything, which is another good thing. Oh, and I didn't even really notice the cell shading there on the rib cage, and then here in his abs as well. But yeah, really nice. And then the same for the legs, right? They keyed in the section for the leg, and then that would probably go in there, and it's glued in there, so you don't have to worry about that falling down. And then the same on the boots there, and that's just a huge improvement. Plus we go pinless, so pinless elbows, pinless knees, because again, we are using the base of it is going to be the Vulcan body, but of course some new things sculpted in to boot. So let's go ahead and check out his articulation. Okay, so the Vulcan body actually has a lot of good movement. So he can look down that much. The head is on a ball disc hinge. He can look up that much. That is fantastic. Full rotation in there, of course. Not a whole lot in terms of pivot, unfortunately. My shoulder, ooh, I got it to go, at first I was like, oh, it's really tight. But you can get it to go straight on out for a good T-pose there. And I should probably still heat that up, because that is a really stiff shoulder on his left, but the right goes up nice and easy. You get an upper bicep swivel in there, pinless double jointed elbow, which gives you that much bend there, so that is solid. Wrists swivel, and they do hinge. They all have the standard horizontal hinge. The ab crunch on Cyclops, and then the other thing about the strap, those are two separate pieces, so it's not one piece that's going to mess up when you do the ab crunch. It just floats right on over. The problem is you're not going to get a whole lot of motion going forward on that ab crunch. Going back, you get a tiny bit, and you can see that harness still continues there. You have a waist swivel, but it does have some resistance because of the position of the belt, with those pouches kind of hanging lower than the swivel. So don't... Yeah, you can do it, but again, there's just a lot of resistance there. Legs go out that far apart. He can kick forward that far, which is pretty good. Upper thigh cut in there, and that's at the top of the strap, not at the bottom of the strap. Top of the strap. Pinless double jointed knee. Let me see. Really stiff joints on this guy, so you get that much bend at the knee. And then you do have a boot swivel, and the boot swivel is at the bottom of that strap, so they keyed it into that portion of the leg. So there, foot hinges. Ay, man, this figure's very stiff. Foot hinges all the way down. A little bit of hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Man, it's weird that it's the right side that's all... There we go. I feel like I'm going to break this damn thing. So you want to be careful there. Sometimes you want to heat up your figures. I'm of the... thought that you shouldn't have to do something like that to action figures. I know that it is much safer when you do that, but I hate having to do that just based on the principle of the thing. But pretty good articulation there for Cyclops. Okay, so here are the different Cyclops figures together, and one thing that's weird is the Vulcan body was really big, right? It was quite large. So now that I see this Cyclops figure next to like the Bucky Cap Cyclops, and they're pretty similar in height. Like, it's kind of crazy how close in height they are. So I need to kind of grab the Vulcan figure and see what the difference is with that, because man, Vulcan was huge, right? The Vulcan figure, I'll have to go and look, but you can see that none of the blues match on here, and none of the yellows are quite the same, whereas we get a much darker yellow here. It's almost like an orange color looking at it, the love triangle version. The yellows are very similar, just slightly off, but the love triangle does have a darker blue than this one. I actually really like this new one in terms of the blue and yellow colors and how they come together. But this one, the Warlock Wave Jim Lee Cyclops, I don't mind that blue. I thought that blue was pretty good. At the time, I didn't mind the yellow, but you know, now looking at it, it's like orange. Yellow would have been really, really nice. But let me grab that Vulcan figure and we'll compare him to his brother and see kind of what's going on between these Summers brothers. Okay, so it made sense that if I was going to grab Vulcan, that I would grab Havoc. And poor Alex, right? He's on an old body. Like, we just got this guy, and we basically had the same figure before. The head was different, you know. The silver parts on top of his head were you know, down on his head and not protruding. But you know, we get these two nice pinless figures, and then Alex is over here with a new figure that's still, you know, it's still a good body mold. This one, I guess mine wasn't too gummy. You know, a lot of people had some gumminess going on theirs. But it's an older body mold. Like, how cool would it be to get him on the Vulcan body? I think it would be really cool, but unfortunately, that is not the case for Alex Summers. But looking at Gabriel and Scott, the height difference, you could see Cyclops is a little bit shorter. Part of that is going to be because Vulcan's head sits way high on the neck. Cyclops' head sits way lower. But even to me, it looks like the shoulder... Well, you know what? From my sitting position, looking down, it looks like Vulcan is taller. But now that I'm looking at my screen on the camera, they look to be the same height. So I think that's what's going on. So when we look at like Vulcan and think, oh, that figure is huge compared to like Bucky Cap, I think that's because that head sits pretty damn high on there. Now the shoulders, I'm looking at it, compared to Bucky Cap, Vulcan, yes, is actually a little bit taller, and it's just kind of throwing me off because I always thought like Bucky Cap, that's like way short, right? That's such a short figure compared, but it's kind of odd looking at it. It's pretty close, but again, Vulcan's head is just so high up on the neck. I think that's what's causing that. Maybe that's what it is, but clearly you could see that this Cyclops figure, even though they obviously had to make some adjustments to the tooling in the torso and the legs, they are the same. So the legs are the same, even though they have these strap sections. You can tell they just keyed out that section there, but because the muscle tone definition and everything is the exact same in those spots, you know, they just had to make those minor adjustments. And I think it actually serves really well. And then just, again, Alex, not so much. Disappointing. Let him fall. Okay, I don't normally do this, but let's go ahead and do some head swaps because I think this one warrants a head swap. I think this head is pretty good. I don't know that we need to change it, but if we wanted to do a Scott Summers head, could we do it? And it pops on there, but I feel like that is just way too high up on the neck. That's really not going to work. That's really bad looking. Man, let's get that off right away because holy hell, that looked scary. Like, not good. And I think a big part difference there is if you look at the Bucky Cap ball hinge and look at Cyclops, you can see that that ball sits much higher on that disc hinge, whereas on the Bucky Cap, that shit was right on that disc. You know, so they couldn't do that. So yeah, let's keep it there. Let's see. Oh, actually, let's do this. New head on the old. We're definitely not going to have any neck, though. I think, does it fit on there? It goes on there, but man, look at that. No neck issue. That's definitely a problem. So that's really not going to work. So let's keep the Cyclopses the way they're supposed to be, so we don't have to worry about how weird and stuff they look. So this Cyclops head works for this Cyclops and this Cyclops only. So going back to kind of the love triangle set, here we have Jean Grey and Wolverine looking even shorter compared to Cyclops, but it's a really good looking trio. I'm very happy with the way these animated series figures came out. The cell shading is pretty subtle. A lot of times we see cell shading on figures. There's a lot of deep blacks and stuff on there. I like that they went with, you know, a little bit of a darker tone to what the plastic that it's on, the color that it's on. I really like the way that looks. So I don't mind the cell shading, whereas normally I would hate it. I think it came out looking pretty good, but you guys let me know down in the comments below what you think of the cel shading on these figures, and what do you think of the X-Men animated VHS line to begin with. Yes, they're pretty pricey, overpriced in most senses. I mean, Morph I can live with because, you know, we had, you know, newer stuff going on in there. Essentially the same legs as like Cyclops. Cyclops is an absolute must. I mean, he is definitely by far the best one out of the entire group. And a lot of them were super easy passes. I get it. But you guys let me know down in the comments below which ones you have, which ones you've gotten, which ones you've passed, and what do you think, most importantly, of this Cyclops figure. I think it's awesome and a must-have, but maybe that's just me. Chances are we will get another Cyclops figure. I mean, we have that astonishing X-Men one that's going to be coming out, but I find it hard to believe that they would go through all this trouble of keying this harness in and everything and not doing it again to reach a larger audience at like a normal X-Men wave, as opposed to, you know, something that's going to be essentially online exclusive, because I don't know how many Disney stores are still left. So I can see them releasing it again. But anyway, if you guys like this video, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys are interested in joining the MCU Collective and becoming a channel member, hit that join button. And thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it.